So, good afternoon. I would like to welcome you for the last session of public programs of the 14th Istanbul Biennial. And it is an encounter between different propositions. And it is called a pilot meeting for the democracies of the future. It comes from the wish and ideas of Ingo Niermann, who is to my left and who proposed that on the occasion of this biennial we would create one moment to think not directly about the world through art, but maybe the opposite. So maybe art after thinking about the world. And he felt that most meetings that discuss political issues or that discuss democracy often, especially in the art community, are focused on analyses of negative situations or analyses of and critical analyses of situations. While what he felt was missing was thinking together possibilities, alternatives, new propositions on what this polis and what these people in the polis, based on some notion of equality, let's say, democracy, could bring. So from these conversations, we decided we would schedule it on the last day of the biennial, just in case. Didn't want any trouble after. And then, oddly enough, the coincidence happened, which is that your elections are tomorrow. So again, I wish you all the best, like I said yesterday. And that occurred after, so that date was decided. So today with us, we do have odd mix of people. One of them, aside from ourselves, because Ingo has an idea for the democracy of the future, and I have an idea for the democracy of the future, and our two ideas will be expressed in 5-10 minutes at the end. So if you want to know what I want to do in the world, help fix problems, it will be at the end. But before that, we have wonderful speakers who I would like to thank all at once, only once, for their being with us today. And the order of the speakers are, we will begin with Wang Hui, who graciously came from China to visit the biennial and to give us his grain of salt in a lecture called Two Kinds of New Poor and Their New Future. Now, Wang Hui is an intellectual historian and professor of literature and history at Tsinghua University in Beijing. When I was in Beijing some years ago, I was guest of the Goethe. I think I was directing Document at the time, and I said to them, I want to meet this man. Now that I'm Documenta director, I can meet anybody. Please find him. And it's not an easy task, but they managed to dig up Mr. Wang Hui, and we had a very interesting dinner. And the reason I wanted to do that was because he, to my experience, is the only person who has given a real consistent critique of Western liberal democracies that's founded partly on some also Confucian basis, but not only. And his notion of the equality of things and the decline of representative democracy in the West seemed to me one of the most interesting challenges to engage with. So from that early moment, kind of a friendship, something happened, and we are here today. And so thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing about the two kinds of new poor and their future. That will be followed by Nazan Üstündag's presentation. I am very, very honored and pleased to meet you today for the first time, but having greatly admired your work and your thinking. She is professor of sociology at Boğaziçi University in Istanbul, and she is interested in reflecting on state and violence in general. And I believe that her thoughts around self-defense as a revolutionary practice in Rojava and other declinations of what that might mean will be very interesting to think about today. And that will be followed by the dear artist and friend Michelangelo Pistoletto, who has come from Biella, where he runs since the 1990s a foundation called Città dell'Arte, which is one of the most dynamic and vibrant places for intellectual exchange born out of the reality and practice of an artist, not top down but bottom up, in an area that had been known for its textile industries and in the past. And that allows me to remind you that Michelangelo Pistoletto is known as one of the arte povera artists, although labels always fail to describe the work of someone, but it does tell us that his work came into being in the early 1960s when he reversed the idea that we look at a painting and we are somehow passive outside of it, and he opened the painting to an infinite field within which we enter by creating the mirror paintings, which are preceded by his self-portraits and then the shiny black paintings of 1960. So by 1962 he was working on the mirror paintings that later were also broken and shattered and multiplied, so space became multiplied. And he, in 1967, a very special year, where 2 years after the beginning of bombings in Vietnam, where 1 year before, 1968, he comes up with the Venus of the Rags that you have in the first gallery space of Istanbul Modern today, where the statue, the classical statue, is not facing us, but she turns her back to us and faces this mass of rags that are vibrant and moving, as are the figures in the mirror paintings, and as are his vision of a possible democracy of the future that he defines as the terzo paradiso, the third paradise, something he announced later in his career as an artist around 2002 when he was given an honoris causa degree in Torino in political science. I think it's the first time for an artist. And it's based on the idea that, well, he's going to tell us. But there's a first one, a second one, and the third one is coming. So that's Michelangelo Pistoletto, who will speak to us about his projects and show a slideshow about all the incarnations of this in different parts of the world. That will be followed by Peter Stone, who is briefly going to tell us about his view around sortition as part of a democratic future. Peter Stone is professor of political science at Trinity College in Dublin, and his interest in theories of justice and democracy and rational choice theory bring him to be one of the foremost people in the world today who have suggested the luck of the draw, which is his book titled The Luck of the Draw, the role of lotteries in decision making. Maybe it would end up being just as good or even better if nobody voted and we just chose the governors through random selection, through some sort of chance or lottery. So this is a very radical challenge, one of the many radical challenges that have come up during the digital age, and that probably, if we were not in the digital age, might not be possible to even imagine. Finally, No, there's so many people here today. Then after that, in another like 10 minutes, everybody keep it short, keep your talks short, because we're starting late. So Ben Vickers will be speaking. And Ben Vickers is someone whom I encountered in relation to two opposite things. On the one side, he's the curator of digital, whatever that means, at the Serpentine Gallery. And on the other hand, he's a kind of a Luddite, and as well as a technologist. And he initiated with friends a project called Unmonastery in Matera, which really grabbed my attention and imagination, because it is based on a certain number of sharing of capabilities and abilities that make a stuck situation, farmers that cannot sell their wares, young precarious cognitive laborers that do not have a salary and do not have a place to live, local governments that don't know what to do with abandoned architecture and houses, how to create a dynamic situation of a new form of life that he connects with a sort of monastic rule idea, but of course it's unmonastery, so it's in dialectical relation with that. So that's Ben, in my way of telling it. And then I will be so happy to listen to the wonderful duo, let's call them a multiplo, the René Gabri and Irene Anastas, as representatives of the Center for Parisia, which is a project that's ongoing now, based at the former Hrant offices, where outside of which Hrant, the founder of the Armenian and Turkish language newspaper, was assassinated in 2007, will speak. And I don't have a title from them. All I know is that they write that democracy is not a stable or clear notion, which is true, and that they are interested in the meaning of words as they are not fixed, in the way that they are not fixed, and through the way that they are not fixed. And their bio places them in a limbo and not in a place. And currently that limbo unfolds in Istanbul, but we have walked together in various other places and moments, including in Documenta 13. So I would like to passare la parola, how you say that in English, to pass the word to, you don't say that in English, pass the word to, give the word to my colleague, in this case Ingo Niermann, who will tell us a little bit more about why we're here doing this. And he is a novelist. You may know his novel from 2001, Der Effekt, The Effect. And he also most recently came out with his new novel called Deutsche Sohn, the German son, which is 2015. And what characterizes my way of seeing his work is, and it irritates also a lot of people sometimes, is that he looks for solutions. Ingo never thinks in abstract without always thinking of a solution. So somehow you could say he's an heir of William James. Nothing exists unless it has some sort of effect on us. And in that capacity of being a solution finder and a solution experimenter, he is the editor of a series of publications that Sternberg Press comes out with called Solution Series. That you may know some of those books. There's one on love also. there's a lot, there's different ones. So Ingo, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for coming. The whole solution series actually started my thinking about it pretty much precisely 10 years ago in Beijing. So I'm really happy that Wang Hui is here, because and it started with this impression that the Western democracy is in a deep crisis, and it came through my experiences in Beijing. When democracy started, as we know it, 2,500 years ago in Athens, it meant direct democracy, only of a minority. Yeah, only 10 or 15% of the population could vote. Sorry, this is really, but I'm very close. Yes. Okay. I'm not used to microphone means for me. I can be super silent. But what we know nowadays is a very diluted version of this. So representative democracy and as well party democracy. So there's already like two barriers that you have to pass to be finally able to actually decide on something. But still, after the end of the Cold War, it seemed to be the model for the future, or for like a permanent present, for post-histoire. But then actually still time went on, and I think two things changed drastically. One is what I experienced in China, is that there's a new kind of autocratic regime came up that is extremely smart, and that tests the idea that the Western democracy is as well like the more, especially thinking in terms of economy, a superior model, and that well, before it was, you know, the fight between West and East, and it was all about actually which model is getting more economic success. The end of the Eastern Bloc was all due to what was considered to be an economic failure. While at the same time, and that was not at all perceived from the West, there was already like a new model evolving in China. That, you could argue, was even the reason for that something as glasnost even happened. The other thing that is gaining more and more importance is supernatural companies and institutions. So it's both private ones. You think of Google becoming something like state-like corporations that act with the power as if they would be states, and on the other hand as well, like structures like European Union that don't have that much democracy. But the reason, now comes the solution part, why we are here, and what I think is really, really interesting, that as well in the last years, there's more and more rethinking of democracy taking place, and there's a couple of models that are testing this idea that this is the model. There's a big renaissance of both libertarianism and paternalism. Libertarianism, both in a left and in a right version. The left version you could call like it's about communization. The right version is what we, when we think of like Silicon Valley thinkers who want to create new states that have like a state that is even more reduced than in the liberal model. And then there's as well a new renaissance of anarchism, like in the sense of crypto-anarchism, and So then paternalism, going from models like nudging, where it's still like within a democratic frame, but as well neo-reactionary movements, and there's even like now talks again about why monarchy is the best possible state. This is all seriously discussed nowadays. We cannot cover all of this, just a tiny fraction, but I'm happy about that and looking forward to all your contributions. Thank you so much.
So thank you. Thank you, Ingo, for introducing the why we're doing this. It's just a beginning. I mean, we hope that it's a pilot for something larger that we can organize in the future. And I would now like to invite Wang Hui to the podium to give his talk. I will leave him so I can listen to him properly.